being swept under the carpet and nobody's calling it out. So that's why I'm here. I'm here to call it out. John Fury is a disgrace. What he's doing is bringing boxing into disrepute. It's disgusting and terrible that people will be watching this fight, the biggest.
Carl Froch has called out John Fury, suggesting that they should have an ongoing back and forth before or after every Tyson Fury fight. While John Fury has kept largely silent, it's Froch who has taken the first shot this time. He criticized John Fury for being unusually quiet following his son's loss, asserting that the outspoken fighting man is not typically this silent.
I wanted a press conference and there's been one thing missing in the build-up. Big John Fury, the fighting man, 100 on the hard road. That man is gone.
Carl Froch has called out John Fury, suggesting that they should have an ongoing back and forth before or after every Tyson Fury fight. While John Fury has kept largely silent, it's Froch who has taken the first shot this time. He criticized John Fury for being unusually quiet following his son's loss, asserting that the outspoken fighting man is not typically this silent.
He was 20 stone and 6'9". I've told you what I'd do. I'd fucking invade Russia. But I'm not that big and I'm not that heavy. So, like, I don't know if I could ever lose if I was that big. I'm not.
Former super middleweight world champion Carl Froch, who was ringside, stated on his YouTube channel that the right man won. However, he added that it would have been impossible to claim that Fury was the victor.
You could have never said that Fury won that fight. So there's no complaints other than Bricktop at ringside. But like I said, he's got one eye on the prize, hasn't he? But let's be honest, the right man.
Froch went on to explain that he scored the fight the same way as all three judges. It was a close contest, with the action shifting back and forth, particularly in the early rounds. From round 1 through about round 6 or 7, it was very tight, with rounds going to both Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk. There were several rounds that were hard to split. Froch noted that the turning point likely came around rounds 6 or 7, when Usyk started to close the gap as Fury began to tire, which he had anticipated. There was very little separating the two, but the more eye-catching shots came from Usyk. Froch mentioned that Frank Warren, who was ringside, was complaining about a robbery, but he probably viewed it through an emotional lens, believing Tyson Fury had won and that a trilogy would be in the works. Ultimately, Froch concluded that Oleksandr Usyk won the fight, and his scorecard mirrored that of the judges, with Usyk winning by 4 or 5 rounds.
Oleksandr Usyk did the job this evening, got the win and retained his titles in what was a pretty intriguing fight that kind of had you sitting there watching with you. I wasn't mesmerised, but I was
Carl Froch has warned John Fury that his son has brought shame to British boxing. This slander may finally prompt John Fury to break his silence. While he may remain quiet before and after his son's fight, it's unlikely that he will stay silent for long after receiving criticism from Froch.
Usyk worked, but the eye-catching shots ultimately came from Oleksandr Usyk, who is a different class in here. He's just a class above, because when you consider the weight and size...
Nottinghamshire boxing legend Carl Froch has advised Tyson Fury to consider distancing his father from his team as he intensifies training for his upcoming fight with Oleksandr Usyk. This suggestion comes after John Fury, Tyson's father, attracted negative attention for his disruptive behavior at the recent press event for the Tommy Fury vs. Darren Till fight. Despite an initially respectful atmosphere between Tommy and Till, the situation escalated when John Fury began squirting water at Till, leading to a confrontation that required security to step in and separate the fighters before tensions eased.
And the fact that Tony Bellew and Carl Froch didn't make any money out of the game is obviously hurtful to them. And I'm making the biggest bags that's ever.
In an interview with Action Network, Carl Froch criticized John Fury's behavior, calling it pathetic and childish for a grown man. He acknowledged that Darren Till had been vocal, but emphasized that the focus should be on the fight between Till and Tommy Fury, not on John Fury. Froch suggested that John was seeking attention, pointing out that despite his claims as a fighting man, he has never achieved anything himself. He recognized Tyson Fury as a top fighter, but mentioned that he didn't pay much attention to Tyson's recent loss to Oleksandr Usyk.
That fight again, I think I've got Larry Holmes here. I thought I've won both fights, But then again, I've gone home with 2 losses on my record now, so there's not much I can do about it. I can just fight my heart out and do the best I can. But again, I'll always believe until...
Talk of pushing John Fury out of Tyson Fury's corner grew louder as Tyson prepared for his highly anticipated rematch with Oleksandr Usyk, following his first professional loss to the Ukrainian in May. Fury was determined to even the score, but when asked about his strategy for the upcoming fight, Tyson made it clear that he wouldn't be making any major changes to his approach or team. "Not much time," he said. "I know what I've got to do. People can say I want to change trainers or blame my conditioning coach or blame the cook or even blame the mouse next door, but it's the same team, same everything. I know what I've got to do."
It's not classy, is it? To talk about money, it's not classy at all. Me and Tony Bellew, and I can talk for Tony because I know.
Tony Bellew, the former cruiserweight world champion and friend of Carl Froch, watched the Fury versus Usyk fight closely, and heading into the final round, he revealed that he had Usyk ahead. "I have him ahead 6-5 after 11 rounds, Bellew said. "There were some close rounds, but I can't see how Fury is winning as Usyk is pressing the fight and outlanding him. It's all up for grabs now. A knockdown could win it for Fury." Bellew scored the final round 10-10, making Usyk the 115-114 winner on his scorecard. "It was a great last round, and I couldn't separate them. It was a brilliant chess match. I've got Usyk winning, but no one can really complain either way. This isn't a robbery. Both fighters gave it their all. I just feel Usyk did enough, outlanded Fury, and pressed the action." While Bellew agreed with the result, he felt the judges' scores of 116-112 for Fury were too wide, saying, "I'm quite confident in my score." Clip: Tyson Fury versus Usyk was a closely contested fight, but many felt Usyk's pressure and consistent work rate earned him the win. While Fury is a warrior who deserves respect for stepping back in the ring with Usyk, there was a lot of criticism regarding his previous decision to face a former UFC World Heavyweight Champion instead of the undisputed champion Usyk. Months ago, Fury came under fire from both Carl Froch and Tony Bellew after he chose to fight UFC star Francis Ngannou in a 10-round non-title bout in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, rather than immediately rematching Usyk. Critics like Froch and Bellew expressed their dismay over Fury's decision to take the big-money crossover fight with Ngannou, calling it a distraction from the real title fight with Usyk. Fury responded fiercely to the criticism, dismissing Froch and Bellew with a blunt remark, "See these damn balls. Lick them, idiots." He claimed their comments were driven by bitterness because they hadn't made money from the sport. Fury also boasted about signing the biggest deal in boxing history, which he couldn't reveal at the time. He accused the media of using his name for clickbait, saying, "Without me, there ain't no expletive boxing. I run the game." Froch, on the other hand, called out Fury for disrespecting the sport and its fans. Clip: Carl Froch criticized Tyson Fury for discussing money, stating that it's not classy to talk about financial matters in the sport. On his YouTube channel, Froch, alongside Tony Bellew, explained, "Me and Tony have done all right. We've left the sport with our health intact, financially free, and in a good place both physically and mentally." Froch then shifted to comparing their careers, saying, "I'm an average fighter. Your CV doesn't stack up against mine. It just doesn't. You've got 4 wins over world champions, Steve Cunningham, an old cruiserweight, Vladimir Klitschko in a terrible fight, Deontay Wilder 3 times, but you only beat him twice." He continued, "I've got 11 wins over world champions. Lennox Lewis has 14. Clip: Carl Froch had strong words for Tyson Fury, telling him, "You can have as much money as you want in your wallet, but when you turn up to the Hall of Fame party next year, you won't be sitting at the top table with me or my peers. You won't belong there with that CV." Froch continued, advising Fury to focus on his boxing career rather than chasing crossover fights. "You should be defending your title and fighting other champions. How much longer do you have in the game? 2, 3 more fights? It's a waste to take these crossover bouts. You're turning the fans against you, and it's sad to see. It's nonsensical. We don't need to know about it. Heavyweight is a different breed. The heavyweights tend to make the most money over decades." Froch then added, "Deep down, I think you know you're hurting the sport. Get in the ring with a real fighter like Oleksandr Usyk or Anthony Joshua." Meanwhile, promoter Eddie Hearn disagreed with the result of the Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk rematch. Hearn felt that the bout should have ended in a draw, rather than Usyk being controversially awarded the win on points. The Ukrainian fighter, 37, won by a score of 116 to 112 from all three judges, the same score as in their previous meeting in Saudi Arabia in February. The decision sparked fierce debate, with Fury claiming that Usyk was handed a Christmas gift.